Jonathan Majors, he's out at Marvel Studios. Marvel Studios, of course, part of Disney. And the news comes as the actor was found guilty of reckless assault and harassment. This is a domestic violence case. So Disney just keeps having problems, like one after another. They're not hiring the right people on screen or off screen. I mean, off screen we know, right? Like the staff at Disney, part of the reason they're in this woke mess is because of the staff. We can get to that in a second. But Jonathan Majors, he's out at Marvel Studios. Really, like, there's no way to forgive something like this. I just can't say enough about that. But, you know, this guy, he was high and mighty on Disney's list until now. Like it took them until today, until the conviction. I guess it's good in that, you know, you're innocent until proven guilty. But in this case, he was proven guilty and Disney's done. This guy, he played basically the mega villain character. If you watch any of the Marvel Studio stuff, he was the big villain in He Who Remains, aka Kang the Conqueror. This is the Marvel Cinematic Universe phases 4 through 6. He debuted his character season 1 of Loki in 2021 and then continued into season 2. Then he starred as well in the February Ant-Man and the Wasp, which made, I guess, $476 million. So they thought, okay, like this is the guy. He Who Remains was plotted, it was the next film that they were working on, to be the bad character during the MCU phase 5 and 6, with the character getting his own movie, Avengers, The Kang Dynasty, that was scheduled for May of 2026. But all that is done now. So I guess Disney can just burn through more cash because in this case, they hired the wrong guy who turned out to be just a really bad guy, given that he was just convicted of domestic violence. So the bad guy really is the bad guy, right? Like, I guess maybe that's like you're channeling your acting thing. What do they call that? There's like some special method of acting like that. Anyway, the method actor, the bad guy, is a bad guy in real life. Disney finally figured this out and decided to part ways with him. So they'll lose more money because I guess like part of this production and stuff was already in place. But hey, over on Forbes, it's a story as well. They're talking about how Marvel Studios will not move forward with any future work from Jonathan Majors. Big claim to fame was Ant-Man and the Wasp, because the Disney-owned studio is not going to be able to work with him after he was found guilty of this assault and harassment of his ex-girlfriend. So again, Jonathan Majors being found guilty of assault and harassment with his ex-girlfriend. What a guy, like basically living up to the whole villain thing in real life. But what this also highlights is the challenge that Disney finds itself in right now, because they're in this environment where they have to plug all these holes and they're trying to find all these actors to fit all these different parts. And a lot of times in Hollywood, like there's bad people and studios are willing to overlook it. And in this case, it's good, right? That they're taking this seriously. I think it's another blow for Disney. It's another example of how this company is really challenged to live up to some of the ideals that they put in place. Of course, they don't really care about those ideals anymore. But maybe they're starting to shift. Maybe they're realizing, like, look, we can't be so reckless. They did pull production, remember, on Snow White, which has already cost them a reported $330 million. If those reports are to be believed, it's a very expensive thing to pull. They're postponing it. Already the public seems to be really not so enthused about the Disney Snow White. So they got that going on. They got their last 4 blockbuster films having lost reportedly $1 billion. So when you keep embracing this woke stuff, eventually it kind of comes back to haunt you in different ways. I'm not saying these things are related, only pointing out that the company is in a very challenged spot. Does it all kind of ride on one actor? I don't think so. I think you can find somebody to replace the guy. Thank you very much. But he was popular enough. Anyway, Disney, its stock price has been cut in half in the last 5 years. So investors are kind of getting anxious. You got Nelson Peltz from trying to take over the board and force Bob Iger out, or force Bob Iger, that would be the CEO, to make some tough decisions. You've got to spend your money wisely. Bob Iger seems to be getting the hint. He did bring in the former CFO of Pepsi recently to run the books because, again, when you're losing $1 billion in your last 4 movie flicks, you have your challenges. This is not a good headline for Disney. I mean, they're already kind of seeming very anti family, right? I mean, that's been an ongoing issue for the company. So this does not help, but they're kind of doing what they felt they had to do in this moment. The question now becomes, can it get out from this sort of stink around the company? I don't think so. Not with the current team that's there. Not when you look at who actually works at the company and the sort of culture that has developed as a result of that. I mean, I know they were very, very big on all this DEI equity stuff, right? So they went out and hired a bunch of people who cared passionately about that, which is great, right? But I don't love it. It's not my thing, but great for you. If that's your passion, you know what? Maybe you ought to go into politics. Maybe you ought to go work with Patrisse Cullors or one of these people, right? Like, go and do that. You can do your community organizing thing. But if you're going to work for a company that's publicly traded, then investors, shareholders are relying on those employees to actually generate profits for the company. And when you make decisions over and over and over again that are not in the interest of your consumers and what the consumers want, and instead in the interest of your political woke views, well, then you have a problem. Elon Musk said this quite articulately today. Take a listen.
If we're going to fight the woke mind virus, then the woke mind virus will fight back. And unfortunately, Disney is deeply infected with the woke mind virus. In fact, if you ask an AI what is the most woke company on earth, it's Disney.
Really?
You know? But, and you have to say, I think they should be asking themselves, what would Walt Disney think of Disney today? I think he's turning in his grave. I think he's not happy.
Sure.
You know, if the namesake of the company is not happy, that's probably a bad sign, you know? Because Walt Disney, what did he care about? He cared about bringing joy to people's lives. He making wonderful things that children and families could enjoy. He created some of the coolest, art in the world, and stuff that even 100 years after it's created, we still remember it. And it's still a major thing. But you have to say, how great was Walt Disney? It was amazing. But now, Disney, at least for now, is deeply infected with the woke mind virus. I think that will change over time.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, right.
So again, news coming to us that Disney is parting ways with their Marvel Studios actor, Jonathan Majors, the big star from Ant-Man and the Wasp. He was found guilty of assault and harassment of his ex-girlfriend, not the kind of actor that you want to have portraying your movie franchise or your company overall, especially when it's in such a vulnerable spot. And I'm not kidding. When I say Disney vulnerable, I mean, again, just look at the stock price. Know that there are activist investors that are circling this company saying, hey, you guys got to wake up because it's too valuable a brand to just let it die overnight. And I think that that's kind of on the path that it is on. You look at it, how many people are just saying, okay, enough. I don't need to go to Disney this year. The ticket prices are too high. The rides are out of order or their lines are long. And then I got to sit through the whole Mickey Pride thing. Well, that was back in June. They had their big festival for that at a lot of money. So Disney is troubled. I hate to see it this way because I think it's a wonderful, really neat company that has such a storied past and could have a tremendous future, but they gotta turn out the blockbusters. Like, they've gotta find a way to actually appeal to their consumers again, and it's hard to do. Anyway, this guy was not gonna appeal to a whole lot of people, so I think they probably figured we'll cut our losses by getting rid of Jonathan Majors. Jonathan Majors out after this assault and harassment conviction. Hey everyone, don't forget to subscribe. Do me the favor, subscribe, hit like, make sure you hit the bell. I'll be back here with a live show tomorrow. We got lots coming your way.